After the Texas Revolution, Texas became its own country. As a country, we needed a government and we needed a leader. The leader of the first year of Texas being its own country was Sam Houston. Sam Houston has a very integral part of Texas throughout the entire history that we have of Texas. Sam Houston had three goals. He wanted peace with the American Indians, because even though we haven't talked about the Indians in quite a while, we still are having issues with the Indians because as Texans move further into the frontier, we're getting into the American Indian land. We wanted to keep guarded, meaning we wanted to keep our arms, keep our thought up against Mexico, because if we let our guard down against Mexico, they might try to take over. And Houston wanted to be annexed by the United States. He felt this was necessary because Texas was not economically sufficient, nor were we able to withstand any kind of attack, so we needed military help. Houston's administration was made up of him, the president, the vice president, Mirabeau B. Lamar, which you will learn later on that Houston and Lamar did not get along. You had the Secretary of State, Stephen F. Austin. The Secretary of State goes in and checks on relations between Texas and other countries, as well as the United States and France, and gets recognition for Texas. And then you have Secretary of the Treasury, the man who's in charge of the money, Henry Smith. There was a big border dispute between Texas and Mexico. Texas claims the Rio Grande as the border of Texas, and Mexico claims the Nueces River. This issue right here is going to lead us to when Texas joins the United States. This is the basis for the war with Mexico between the U.S. and Mexico, called the Mexican War. This boundary dispute does not go away. And you can see in this picture, the yellow is where you have the boundary dispute, and then the yellow and green striped is where the other dispute occurs. The capital of Texas was in Houston at the time, and they moved to Columbia. Houston was named the temporary capital. Later on, it was moved to Austin. Domestic deals with everything that happens inside a country. So when we talk about domestic, we're talking the economy inside the country. We're talking about domestic issues inside the country, politics inside the country, health and well-being of the citizens inside of a country. So the domestic policies with Texas deals with President Houston wants to reduce the size of the army. He was worried that the army would overthrow, because they were so strong and so rebellious from the war, that this army would overthrow the new government, which would lead to having issues. The other piece is that Houston really wanted the Texas Rangers and the militia to protect the citizens from the frontier, from where the Native Americans were. So the two big domestic issues is Houston wants to reduce the size of the army, but rely on the Texas Rangers and militia. Another one is he said that heads of households, so we're going to distribute land use. Heads of households can receive 4,600 acres. If you're a single man, you can have 1,400 acres. And he distributed 37 million acres of land during his time period. The way he handles Native American problems, he's going to ensure that certain things happen. He establishes a line, basically saying here's a line between the Native Americans and the Texans, and setting up forts to stop that from occurring. And because he relies on the Texas Rangers and the militia, that's who he has patrolling that area. The militia is also going to be people that would normally protect your town. The Texans wanted to move west because the more land you can move west, the bigger and wide open it was. And Houston did a really, really good job of negotiating treaties. Houston recognized that an American Indian chief had clout, had leadership abilities, and because he recognized this, he was able to negotiate some really good treaties with some of the Native American groups, and he was able to make peace with the Native American groups so that those Indians would stop attacking our forts and our frontier cities. Now, foreign policy. Foreign policy is going to deal with anything outside of the U.S. So the relationship of Texas with the United States, the relationship of Texas with Mexico, the recognition of Texas as its own country. That's what foreign policy is going to deal with. During Houston's term, his first term, his foreign policy was that he did want Texas to be annexed, and he wanted Mexico to recognize Texas as independent. That's a big piece. He really pushed for Mexico's recognition of Texas. His economic deals with money. Remember, we've talked about this. Efforts to solve problems. So he needs taxes. Remember, Texas can't go to work, so how do we get money? Taxes and duties. Duties are taxes. He also tried to get loans from the U.S., but in order to get a loan from the U.S., you have to be a recognized country, and U.S. has not recognized us as a country. He also tries to sell off public lands like parks and just open areas that are owned by the country of Texas at the time period. So that's Houston's policies in regards to understanding what happened during his first term. Now, I went fast, so I want you to go back and I want you to rewatch this, and I want you to create in your spiral things where you can write the economic, foreign, and domestic policies under Houston. So go back, watch this again, and then take your notes.